in the Bible. A book that's never, ever, ever been wrong, despite what some people might think. So people just sit there and go, you know what? I want to have, whatever I want, when I want it, however I want it, because we're all lovers of ourselves. That's basically what it is. I'm not saying all of us are, but at some points we are, in a sense. But now the world is getting darker. So now people are coming out of the darkness with their sick, immoral, ill-minded ideals, and they're coming out of the darkness and able to say what they're doing in the dark in the light, which is pedophilia, and that they want to have children as sex partners. Well, people weren't offended when gay men said that about grown gay men. No, they weren't offended. They weren't offended when women married women or men married men. No, they weren't offended when the word marriage went from being a man and a woman to being marry whatever. Well, now, are they going to be offended when a man marries a child? Are they going to be offended when children walk down the street holding hands with a man that should be the child's dad, but instead it's the lover? Are they going to be offended by these things? Because from what we're seeing, the trend is going toward men will be able to do all these things right out in public, and you'll be a bigot, a hypocrite, one of those old-fashioned believers, if you say anything. And now it's going to be taught in your schools that children should be able to love another man, a full-size, full-grown man, or whatever. Even women will be able to love a little girl or a little boy or whatever, however they want. It's just whatever you can imagine, they'll be able to do it, because the laws and the system has broken down. Once you let the dam start to leak and say, well, it's just a little hole, and then a few more holes pop up and we just go, well, you know what, they're just little, it's not a big deal. And then the dam starts to crack. Well, some people start sounding the alarm, but most people are happy with their life and they don't want to talk about how, it's a threat. They don't want to talk about all that conspiracy nonsense. Oh, these people are just bigots. They're just haters. That's just hate speech. And then the dam collapses. And all the people are washed away. They're all destroyed because we let the morals break. We let God's rule be broken until it became a giant flood, much like the flood back in the day of Noah. In those days, all flesh had become corrupt upon the earth. Even the animals had become corrupt. Now, no one knows exactly what that means, but you can kind of imagine. And I don't think they were barbaric cavemen the way that the most intelligent people might portray them as a bunch of barbaric cavemen back then. I think that they had some pretty high-tech knowledge back then. From what I have found and heard and seen in my lifetime about the times back then, it seems to me like they were very intelligent. In fact, they were very knowledgeable. They were getting knowledge from the fallen angels. The fallen angels came down and they were teaching women how to abort children even. The fallen angels, or today, who we call aliens, were really just leading the human race to rebel against God. They were giving the knowledge of things that would lead us to rebel against God. Now, people would say they were giving us knowledge. God didn't want us to have knowledge, so therefore we were in prison because of God. That God is so evil. He doesn't want us to be free. No, he's like a father. If your father tells you don't run down the street because you might get hit by a car, are you going to listen to him? But if your father tells you not to abort your baby, are you going to listen to him then? If your father doesn't want you to murder and cheat and kill, are those bad things? Is it wrong to say that that is a bad thing? Is murder bad? Yes, all of these things are bad. Unfortunately, we've gotten to a point where we just don't want to talk about whether something's good or bad. We don't even want to talk about right or wrong. We just want to do. We're lovers of self. We walk according to our own lusts. And that's exactly what pedophiles do. They walk according to their own lusts. And now they're getting government to back them. The news that I just played was of a man who's in the government, a pedophile. Many people know him and like him. The worst part is he's a part of a group that literally openly says it's a man-boy love society. There's websites, everything for this. How did that possibly get to that level unless people allowed it to get to that level? That's the strangest part. We should really think about that. And we should really have a lot of sorrow knowing that that is out there. Because that is the worst thing that you can imagine. The terrible things that happen to children, the most innocent. If children are innocent, then how is it we're allowed to curve their mind to be sexual? We put in our movies, sex. We put in our cartoons, all kinds of twisted, immoral things. Even in Pixar movies, you see all these immoral things. Things that are aimed at adults. And I mean, we don't care because the adult wants to have it their way. But the problem is we don't think about what the child needs. Unfortunately, children are the target now. Literally, the target. They're being taught everything. All kinds of twisted things. They're being taught to hate the parents, basically. If you have Bible beliefs and you send your kid to school, chances are that public school is teaching them something that is against your beliefs. Against your God, against the God of the Bible. And if you're sending them there for 5 days a week, you're sending them there for most of their childhood life to learn how to hate what you want them to love, God and Jesus. That's a lot of time to be indoctrinated. I'm thinking, parents, if you're a Christian, you need to pull your kids out of school more than ever today, especially since a czar for teaching is a pedophile, okay? People who are in charge of your children are teaching pedophilia and gay sex. Do you really want your child to know that stuff? And by the way, by teaching them these things, suggesting these things, this lifestyle to them, because they probably didn't think about it already themselves, means that they're being taught these things. Because once they have an idea about something, they're going to experiment, right? So now you're teaching them, you're sending them down a path just like the angels did back in the days of Noah. They sent the humans down a path of destruction. And now they're sending your children down a path of destruction. Because they're getting their knowledge from their father, the devil, whether they know it or not. This is something that really works me up and really gets me upset. A lot of subjects I deal with on this show gets me upset. So if I don't sound like a happy person when I do this show, it's because I'm dealing with subjects that really hurt my heart, okay? And honestly, I see these subjects and I hear about these things and I'm just blown away, and it makes me, sometimes I pray to God, I wish that I wish that He would come. I'm just tired of this world. This world it just hurts me. It just hurts me because I'm so sick and tired of Satan getting his way. I mean, I realize in the end times he's going to be allowed for a short time to overcome the saints even. This is what the Bible says. But it's just sickening. And I intend to cover subjects that I want to bring awareness to so that people will stand up and say something about how these things are wrong. And if I don't say something, then maybe somebody else won't say something, and pretty soon the rest of the world will just lay down and compromise and just lay down with the devil and just go into the pit together and burn. And this is something I really don't want. So I have to be a person who stands up and is not silent, even if it leads to my death, I guess. Because I'm sure there's people who might be listening to this show that are putting me on a list, a red list or a blue list, or whatever kind of list these people have, these satanic government people who really work for Satan and they're just being puppets and they don't realize who they are. They could just come to Jesus and have peace and love and calm and not have to worry about all the crap that they're being taught. But no, they're doing their job. They're just doing their job. That's what this world's all about, just doing your job. That's what the Nazi police said when they were murdering Jews and Christians. People leave out those Christians. The Christians that were standing up for the Jews. People always forget about them. They always go, oh, it's just the Jews. What about the Christians that were killed that stood up? The ones that didn't sing a little louder when the trains were going by. But anyway, now I'm going to play another video that talks about Hollywood and how there's pedophilia in Hollywood in some of your most famous movies. Some of the most famous directors of movies are pedophiles. You can decide for yourself from what I'm going to play, I guess. So listen to this.
Is it true that X-Men directors and writers see the term X-Men as a code word for gay in the X-Men movies? Are they using diabolical subterfuge to shove gay propaganda down the throats of our children? No one likes to be manipulated by Hollywood and liberal elites, but that's how many X-Men fans feel when they find out that X-Men director Bryan Singer, who stands accused of pedophilia and child rape, has used the series to indoctrinate young boys into a gay lifestyle. X-Men director Bryan Singer allegedly met his accuser Michael Egan, then 15, in 1998 at a mansion in Encino, California. Tragically, that was a site of regular drug-fueled underage sex attacks and pedophilia. Michael Egan, who was 15 years old at the time, sued X-Men director and writer Bryan Singer for allegedly raping and molesting him. Egan describes a network of Hollywood homosexuals engaged in pedophilia. He stated that X-Men director Bryan Singer claimed that these gay men run Hollywood.
Had me over to the house of where these perpetrators in this ring kind of basically started. They'd pull me away for their threat sessions and tell me they have gaydar, they have this. At the end of the day, if you don't keep the members of this group happy, we control Hollywood, we can eliminate you, we will eliminate you. Threat after threat after threat. At the house it was, I've had drugs put in drinks. I had liquor poured down my throat from being where there were rules in the house of no swimsuits, no clothes out by the pool area. I was raped numerous times in that house by numerous individuals, various types of sexual abuse, all throughout that house. It was just something, you were like a piece of meat to these people. And they'd pass you around between them. It was, if I could define what that house was, it's evil.
According to court records, X-Men director and writer Bryan Singer, quote, flagrantly disregarded plaintiff's unwillingness to submit and forced plaintiff's head underwater to make plaintiff perform oral sex upon him. When plaintiff pulled his head out of the water in order to breathe, defendant Singer demanded that he continue, which plaintiff refused. The suit went on, quote, defendant Singer then forced plaintiff to continue performing oral sex upon him outside the pool and subsequently forcibly sodomized plaintiff, end quote. Incredibly, just days before the Singer suit was to go to court, famous child actor Corey Feldman talked to Nightline about how he and other child actors were raped by Hollywood elite, and that many of those who are running Hollywood are in fact pedophiles, and the dirtiest secret is pedophilia.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah. Not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Vultures who Feldman says abused him and his best friend, the late child actor Corey Haim, his co-star in The Lost Boys.
Well, what happens if my mom is dating the head vampire?
Feldman says the trauma of that pedophilia contributed to Haim's death.
There's one person to blame in the death of Corey Haim, and that person happens to be a Hollywood mogul. And that person needs to be exposed, but unfortunately I can't be the one to do it. But the person that knows who did it and knows who he is watching right now, I guarantee you. Yeah.
Intriguing.
Yeah. There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves around this group of kids. And they all had either their own power or connections to great power in the entertainment industry.